Hello friends, it's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums today with another Show Me How You Practice video. Now today I'm going to be talking about transit astrology. In my previous video I talked about personal astrology, and I had kind of used, let me grab it, I had used Marilyn Monroe's chart. So this is going to look very similar, but I'm actually going to be using my chart today to kind of show you how I would read transits and why I feel that transit astrology is something that can really benefit you in so many different ways, not just with understanding the energies at play, but then also how those energies may interact with your own personal placements and some of the different things that you may have going on in your chart. So this may be a little bit more advanced. I did try to kind of break it down in a way that would be very simple. So if you use any kind of apps like CoStar, or I can't think of any of the, but basically any kind of horoscope sort of app that kind of tells you like what's going to happen for you, they're using transits. So they're using transit astrology compared to your personal astrology, so your natal chart, and trying to give you an interpretation of what this is and what this means. So obviously our charts are going to be very different. This is going to be Marilyn Monroe's just natal chart. It does not have all of the extra symbols. As you may notice on here, there's all these extra things on the outside wheel. So typically when you pull up a chart, especially for like transits or another thing called progressions, they'll be on different aspects of the wheel to kind of show you where those planets, like what line basically it means, and what we're reading and like what aspect we're reading. So here I just pulled up just the transits. I always going to add in progressions because that also makes it a little bit more complicated. And then the inside is going to be my natal placement. So this is where things were when I was born, kind of like here where we pull up, where I pulled up Marilyn Monroe's natal chart. These are her planets and where they were at whenever she was born. And then here are mine. So again, it's interesting because we're both Leo risings. I think she's 13 degrees, I'm 10 degrees. So our charts are going to look very similar, like layout wise, which is interesting, but just, to kind of keep in mind, I did not realize she was Leo rising actually. But as you can see, it's like she also has some stuff on the midheaven. She's got a lot more stuff going on over here. I do not. Mine are kind of empty. And then I have a lot more kind of going on down here and then up in this quadrant. Okay. So with transit astrology, I'm trying to get it we can see all of these green planets. So this is going to be where the planets will be at on February 21st, which is when I will post this video. And that'll be what is going on in the sky, where everything is at. I didn't put a specific time. I guess if you wanted to, you could. This is just for the day. But as we can see, we have different planets kind of marching over certain elements or even just things that I have going on in my chart. So even though you may not have any kind of placement, so I have no Pisces placements and the sun is moving into Pisces or has moved into Pisces by the 21st, it doesn't mean that I still will not be affected by that energy or that I will not feel the effects of that in those areas. So here we have the sun in Pisces, we have Mercury in Pisces, we have Saturn in Pisces, we have the North Node in Pisces, and then also we have Neptune still in Pisces, late degree, but still there. We have Venus that has moved into Aries. We have Chiron that is still in Aries. We have Uranus still in the sign of Taurus. We have Jupiter in Gemini, and then we have Mars still in Cancer. And then the moon on the 21st will be in Sagittarius. So it's just kind of showing us, and then we have Pluto in Aquarius, just to kind of go around the wheel and kind of tell you where all of the planets are. If I were to kind of want to focus on how these transits may affect me, especially on this day, I would definitely say that there's still some sensitivity going on, and I've really been feeling it just because my moon is here and I have Mars literally running over my my natal moon placement, which is also conjunct my Venus placement. So I would definitely be very aware of oversensitive, passive aggressiveness within myself and others. So that is something that I have been experiencing, as we may all feel it. With Uranus still kind of running over some of my, and I wouldn't say running over because that's what it feels like it has been going on for me with my personal planets, because I do have Mars, Chiron, Mercury, and the Sun all conjunct there with Uranus right there. It's still having this like very intense effect of what is going on with my life, kind of trying to figure out things. It's been very much about the unexpected, the, kind of like not really anticipated sort of things happening in so many different ways. And this is in my 10th house. So again, it may have more to do with like my career, my public persona, public perception, how other people may perceive me, things of that nature, just being very strange. And I will say in the last like 7 years since Uranus has been transiting my 10th house, I have very much just accepted the whole, I'm just really weird, I'm just really strange, I'm not typical. I've really owned up to just accepting who I am. And so there's still going to be some of those themes coming up because Uranus is still kind of transiting a lot of those personal planets, just like when I was talking about personal astrology. All of these are personal planets minus Chiron. Chiron is known as the wounded healer, or the wound through which you learn to heal through. So here we have Chiron and Venus in my 9th house transiting, even though I have nothing here as far as like major planets and luminaries that I have kind of added into this chart. I would definitely say that there's still a lot of wounds over, what I've learned, higher education. Maybe there's a lot of wounds around some of my ideals or things of that nature, just kind of being more of like that higher mind. Wounds around traveling, momentum, movement, what I value may also be kind of coming up. As someone that has Venus in Cancer, this Venus in Aries is square. So it is an uncomfortable sort of energy for me, where it feels very much like I don't really get to do what I want to do. And so there may be some stuff that, like, there again, kind of that sensitivity, because we also have Mars. So there's that kind of square energy there, kind of giving me this push of like maybe being a little bit tender surrounding what I value, what I bring to the table, what I, identities around those things, as well as what that means for me and the relationships and connections that I've built in my life. And I'm only saying that because we have the 11th house Venus, and then also the 9th house Venus square, the transiting. Other things, since we have so many planets in Pisces, and these are all in the 8th house minus the Sun, which is still transiting my 7th house. Again, I don't use whole sign astrology, so if you do, it'll be a little bit different. But for me, I would definitely say that there are some wounds kind of coming up about like money, other people's money, just kind of struggling a little bit with things like that, maybe feeling like all work and no play, maybe a lot of communication surrounding how I'm showing up in different ways, kind of highlighting those things, as well as like relationships and connections, as well as having an understanding of partnerships and maybe highlighting some of those things for me. I know like the last few months have been very much about trying to figure out what comes next for me, trying to kind of establish this new thing that I've been doing, and just trying to really focus a lot of my energy on that. So I'm seeing that maybe I'm kind of transiting out of this, like really, really focusing on how I'm showing up and highlighting that, and then kind of seeing what this means as far as like what I'm building and what maybe needs to kind of die off, so to speak, because it is the 8th house. So it is kind of like the death and taxes kind of energy, which I do need to do my taxes too, which is something that as I'm feeling a lot of like this pressure of like I need to hurry up and like get these things done and really be an adult in some ways, because we have Saturn there. So I may be having some things where they feel a little bit more restricted when it comes to what's going on with what rules over my 8th house, or what is kind of going on with my 8th house. So here it's very much this kind of energy of feeling like I have a lot of adult responsibilities that I don't always want to have to deal with, but that's what it is. And this time of year is literally really not my favorite. I usually tend to struggle a little bit mentally, which makes sense because the 8th house kind of rules over some of like those mental challenges and things like that. So I do kind of feel like as we move into Pisces season, it feels a little bit like we're ending the year for me personally. And so it feels a little bit tougher as I kind of come to terms with the things that I've overcome and experienced. So other things is that Pluto is a long, kind of like transit. So it's in my 6th house presently, which I've been dealing with a lot of health issues, having changes in my routine, having to transform a lot of different aspects when it comes to schedules, organization, my health, my, just really like my day-to-day life is something that is consistently shifting and changing. And because Pluto's been kind of transiting my 6th house, a lot of this time has felt very challenging, as I can literally tell you for the last 15 years, or at least the last 16 years, I have not had a regular routine for a long period of time. It's something that's consistently transforming and changing and shifting. It's like I've switched so many jobs, I've switched so many modalities and this and that, the other. So it's like I just feel like I'm constantly transforming and changing, and I feel like that's still a theme, even though it's moving into Aquarius. So I may be just a little bit more receptive to how things are shifting and changing and not allowing it to be such a challenge, even though I will say, because Pluto is here at these later degrees, as it's kind of moving, at these early degrees, as it moves into later degrees, which is where a lot of my personal Taurus placements are, I may feel a little bit more challenged by this energy, just because it'll be making a square. So things maybe in my partnerships, relationships, connections may really shift and may be a little bit more challenging, as it will be kind of squaring some of my personal placements, which, it is what it is. So we'll see what Pluto does in my 7th house. We all have a Pluto transit. We're all experiencing difficulties and challenges in those places. So it is what it is. Again, the last kind of thing is the moon does change signs every 2.5 to 3 days. So it's a faster moving transit, but it is something that can be very significant, especially if you're someone like me who is ruled by the moon. My moon is in its domicile in Cancer, but it's still my 12th house, which is not the easiest or best placement. Cries and mommy issues. But this right here is going to be highlighting my 4th house, which is around my Jupiter and also my Uranus. So maybe some changes may be happening with my home, maybe with how I'm feeling about things. Maybe I may want to be at home a little bit more. That is something I really have been wanting to do a lot more this week. It's that I just kind of want to rest a little bit more. I haven't really been extremely social or anything like that. Not that I'm usually a very social person, but having this kind of energy here, it can feel a little bit like, what do we got? What do we got with this? And what do we got going on at home that maybe I need to focus on, or what makes me feel at home? So I would definitely just be a little bit more mindful of this energy on Friday, of not really overscheduling myself or feeling like I have to show up for other people's things. Or it may actually be something that's very wild, and I may just be like, you know what, I want to go out and see my friends and I want to do this, blah, blah, blah. So I feel like that energy can alternate between both aspects and energies there. So just using transits can help you understand the energy for the day. You can kind of see some of these longer transits as a means of, okay, these are things that are changing and happening, or maybe highlighted in my life at the current moment, especially with Mars being retrograde for so long, I have had a lot of issues with this energy. And I know it's going to take some time before it moves into Leo, but then it'll be on my ascendant. So then that is also something I need to kind of be aware of, because Mars on the ascendant can bring a little bit more of like a carelessness, more potential for accidents, things like that. So having an understanding of the transits can also keep you a little bit more mindful of what you're doing and what's going on. So I have Jupiter here in my 11th house, which is the house of friends, the house of like connections and kind of showing up in different ways, as well as like community and like group service and stuff like that. So here we have this kind of energy kind of saying like, maybe I need to kind of go out into the world a little bit more and be more communicative. But I am always going to want to kind of be at home and not really focus too much on like what's going on in the external world. But I think that this is very much highlighted at this current moment where I am kind of craving community. I am craving more of a connection with the people that like get me and see me where I'm at. So by having an understanding of some of these longer transits like Jupiter, Uranus, Mars being so long in Cancer and Leo, it will just allow me to have a little bit more flexibility in how I view the things that I'm experiencing, instead of feeling kind of trapped or stuck in certain thought patterns. I think it can also be very beneficial if you have an understanding of what your personal placements are. That's why I wanted to talk a little bit more about personal astrology in my previous video, and to kind of help people have more of a level head when it comes to your placements. There are no good or bad placements in astrology. There are ones that can be a little bit more challenging. I would honestly be more concerned with like what aspects you have going on, and then what those aspects are in relation to the current transits or even progressions going on in your chart, and how those things may be kind of expanding placements that may feel a little bit more challenging or a little bit more difficult. So I'm not sure if this really explains how transit astrology works. I was thinking that maybe an example would kind of help you see what it looks like, and then kind of seeing an actual chart can kind of help you whenever you're looking at your own natal chart. But learning the glyphs, so the little symbols, will help you in understanding like what's going on, and then also kind of understanding what each of the houses means will be extremely beneficial, because then you can kind of see what themes are being highlighted, what sort of aspects of your life may be affected, because each of the houses rules over certain aspects of our lives. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining me. And even though I said I was not going to share my chart online, here we are. I mean, I've shared it online before, but like I'm on YouTube. Please take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.